Here is something that most of my viewers probably aren't interested in, because it's not the type of things I usually do videos about. But it's still a tech gadget, so I'm interested in it. And as usual, if you have any suggestions for a video you'd like me to do, let me know. This device is probably older than most people viewing this video. In fact, it's older than me even. It's a Sangean SG-787L portable radio. I don't know exactly when it's from, because it doesn't have a date on it, but I'm guessing the 80s maybe. It has a lot of bands: long wave, medium wave, also known as AM, FM, and not one but 6 shortwave bands. It supports stereo on FM. It only has one speaker, which you can see there. It's about 4 centimeters in diameter. I tried to clean it up as best as I could, but it's still a little dirty. On the front we have switches to select band: AM, long wave, short wave, or FM. And when it's set to shortwave, you choose the 6 different shortwave bands. A power on-off indicator, which is not actually a light, but just an indicator that moves. And the tuning and stereo lights, which are actual lights. On this side we have the tuning dial, stereo and mono switch for FM, the power switch, and volume control. On the back we have this indicator sticker. We have the extendable antenna, which is quite long, and the space to put in the batteries. 3 AA batteries. The battery contacts are quite corroded, but I was able to clean them up with alcohol and they do work. Also, the foam on the battery door is still good. A little bit. And on this side we have the headphone jack and another jack that looks like a speaker jack. Maybe one is a line out and one is headphone. Not sure exactly because I didn't get the manual with it. And a DC 4.5 volt jack, but notice that the center pin is negative, unlike most DC plugs where the center pin is positive, and nothing of interest on the bottom. This radio is not pocket sized, but it's not that big. Here it is compared to an iPhone SE, same size as the iPhone 5 or 5S. Much thicker, of course, but what do you expect? So I could power this thing using batteries, which I have done, and it worked. But I ran into some problems with it, and I wanted to be sure that it wasn't the corroded battery contacts. So I bought this power supply on Amazon. It allows you to set different voltages, so I set it to 4.5 volts. And the best thing about this is that the plug here has reversible polarity. So I set it where the tip is negative. You could take this tip out and invert it so it becomes positive, and then the center pin would be positive. But this one has center negative. We can plug it in. Doesn't go in all the way, but it does make a contact. And now we can plug this into the wall and power the radio. And sadly, the problems that this radio has were not solved when using the AC adapter. So I think it's just a little bit faulty, but I haven't had the courage to open it up and take a look inside yet. The radio does work, so let's power it on now. It's set to FM and stereo, even though it doesn't make much sense when using the mono speaker here. In fact, it would be better to set it to mono when using the speaker, so weaker stations have less interference. We'll pull up the antenna and extend it a little bit and try browsing through some local stations. You'll see the problem in a moment. Now, I'm not an expert in local radio stations. The last time I was constantly listening to the radio was over 10 years ago. But I know there's a really strong station here at 104.8 megahertz. And I'm pretty sure that's the station we're tuned into now. But as you can see, the indicator is between 96 and 100 megahertz. So the tuning thing is skewed or shifted. I'm not sure which is the best word to describe it.
Scrivo dal Veneto per chiedervi di mandare un bacio alla mia nipotina di 2 anni, Ginevra.
Partiamo con la Francia, Madonna di Liesse. 3 cavalieri francesi.
And after a certain point, it just doesn't pick up anything. So that station you just heard was on 108 megahertz. And I'm not sure if it's actually trying to pick up FM stations above 108 megahertz or it just doesn't do anything. But this tuning thing is shifted, so it doesn't indicate correctly. We'll try the other bands, but I couldn't pick up anything on them. So shortwave. Nothing on band 1, let's try band 2.
Nothing, band 3. Band 4. Band 5.
I think the buzzing sound that you can hear now is actually coming from the AC adapter, because it was still buzzing even with battery power, but the buzzing sound was much lower.
And finally, the 6th shortwave band.
Now let's try long wave. I think there aren't any stations using these frequencies around here anymore, but it could also be a problem of this radio, which is a shame because, as you can see, it's very versatile. And finally AM, or medium wave. So let's go back to FM and try transmitting something. So above my router you can see a Raspberry Pi on which I have a web server with a test web application I wrote that uses an FM transmitter program for Raspberry Pi called Pi FM. And here I have the web application on my phone. I picked up a random piece of music from the YouTube audio library. I set it to transmit to 93.3 megahertz, which is a clear frequency around here, even though the FM signal it's gonna make is really weak. So I have to put the antenna right up to the Raspberry Pi here. And so let's start broadcasting and then try to tune this little radio here until we find this station. So let's start. I'll turn the radio back on. Hold the antenna up to the little computer here and try to find it. And it should be in stereo as well. There it is. Found it already. For some reason the tuning light isn't on, probably because it's not a strong signal, so let's go closer. And there it is. Now it sounds clear and the tuning light indicator is on. Let's switch to stereo. And this radio can get pretty loud, so let's try turning it all the way up for a second. Yep, that little speaker is pretty loud. And over here I can stop the broadcast now. And now it's back to static. But anyway, what I forgot to show you while the broadcast was going, I didn't move the tuning indicator. The station was supposed to be 93.3 megahertz, but the indicator is at 88. So this proves that it's skewed. So that's it about this little Sangean portable radio. The only other time I've heard of this brand was in some We Westlife videos. I think one of them was the video about the CC radio and probably some other ones as well. But before getting this radio, I hadn't heard of this brand anywhere else. So it's a pretty cool radio. It has a few problems, which I'm not sure how easy they are to fix. But at least it showed a few signs of working. I'm not an expert in radio, so some of the things I said here might have been wrong. In that case, you can correct me in the comments. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for watching.